Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a story that's been quietly unfolding beneath the surface of American trucking. And it's about to affect thousands of hard-working drivers across this country. You probably haven't seen it on the evening news. You won't hear it shouted across cable channels. I guess too small of a story. But it matters. It's called English Language Proficiency Enforcement, ELP. And as of June 25th, it just became one of the fastest growing reasons truckers are being taken off the road. Now, let's just be honest here. Nobody's arguing against safety. That's the word the bureaucrats always love to use. Safety. But what's really happening behind this rule? And who does it really affect, benefit, or hurt? Let's start in Wyoming, because apparently Wyoming has decided it wants to be the tip of the spear in this new language crackdown. Period. In June alone, the state issued 66 ELP violations. That made it the fifth most common violation. So think about that. Out of everything going on with commercial trucks, maintenance, weight, logs, the fifth most common reason to get flagged is now English. And here's the kicker. They haven't even confirmed whether those violations led to out of service orders, which is a big deal. That's right. The federal government passed a rule, told the states to enforce it, and now we're left guessing if enforcement actually happened. Because California, Texas, they have their own rules. Does that sound like a system you can trust? Now, according to testimony from Sean Duffy, a federal official who spoke to the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, many states are already enforcing the ELP rule. At least that's the claim. But when pressed, he couldn't or wouldn't name a single one. So we're just supposed to believe it's magically happening. Just take his word for it. Trust the process. Well, we don't like taking people's word for it. So we went to the data. From June 1st through June 30th, there were 3,724 English language proficiency violations issued nationwide. That's before the rule even went into full effect. Then, from July 1st to just July 14th, 2 weeks, there were 2,669 violations. That's about 66 more violations per day than we saw in June. In other words, it's ramping up, and fast. So what about the real punishment, the out-of-service orders? Well, here's where things get even more interesting. From June 1st to June 30th, 192 drivers were pulled off the road for not speaking English well enough. And again, remember, about 20 of those happened before the rule was even supposed to be enforced. That means officers were taking action before they were told to. So much for consistency, but July comes, that's where it explodes. From July 1st to July 14th, 649 drivers were placed out of service for failing the English standard. And that's not a typo. 649. 2 weeks. That's a trucker taken off the road every 31 minutes because someone decided they did not speak clearly enough. Now, the federal government will tell you this is about safety. They'll say it's necessary, but here is what they won't say. They will not talk about the exemptions. Specifically, they won't talk about the border zone carriers. Those are drivers operating near the US-Mexico border, so Texas, and they're allowed to get violations for lack of English, but can be placed out of service. Why? Nobody will really explain that either. So we're enforcing the rule, except when we're not, and we're leaving up to states. Let's go deeper. If you include everyone, border zone and non-border zone carriers, the out-of-service rate in June was just over 5%. In July, it jumped to 24%. Still think this is just a routine update? Now, remove those border zone exemptions, and it gets even more dramatic. The percentage of ELP violations that led to out-of-service orders jumps to 45%, nearly half. That means almost every other driver written up for language issues was taken off the road on the spot. So what exactly are we enforcing here? And who is making these decisions? Federal, state? Is it a standardized test? I mean, no. Is there a national language benchmark? Nope. The judgment is up to the officer, one person. And again, it's state by state kind of basis. Their opinion of your English could end your route, your load, your paycheck. This isn't just policy, it's power. And it's discretionary power handed to inspectors without clear accountability. Now, is there a safety concern when drivers can't communicate with law enforcement or read signs? Sure, of course. No one denies that. But what is the line? What counts as proficient? Am I proficient? Probably not. Does it mean you can speak fluently, or does it mean you can understand enough to comply with the law? Just bare basics, because those are two very different standards, and no one in Washington is clarifying it. Again, they're leaving it up to the states and DOT officers. Meanwhile, some states and carriers are trying to get ahead of the chaos. In Texas and New Jersey, companies are offering crash course English programs. That's right. Companies are now training their drivers to memorize key phrases and highway terms just so they can pass an inspection. And this isn't about language anymore. It's about survival. And guess what else? There's no appeals process at the roadside. You're out of service, you're out of service. If the officer decides you're not proficient enough, you're done. Sure, you can challenge it later through a system called data queues, but by then the damage is done, and it takes months to get a decision. Your truck's parked, your load's late, your wallet's empty, and now imagine being a small fleet owner or an independent owner-operator trying to navigate this. You hire a good driver, you put them through orientation, and suddenly one inspection ends it all. That's the reality we're heading toward. A system that leaves room for judgment, but no room for appeal, or at least not the quick one. So here's where we are. A policy that went live on June 25th, thousands of violations, hundreds of drivers taken off road, a growing wave of enforcement that's only gaining momentum, and yet no transparency, no national training standard, no definition of proficiency, just rules and punishment. And this is not about being anti-regulation. It's about fairness. If you're going to enforce something that affects livelihoods, you better be crystal clear about what the rules are and how they're applied. Because right now, the message from Washington, D.C. is following: figure it out or get off the road. So I'll ask you, what are you seeing out there? Have you or someone you know gotten an ELP violation? Were you placed out of service? Did you understand what was happening? What state you were in? Drop your stories below, because if the media won't cover it, we will. And one final note: the federal government says this is just about making highways safer. But anytime someone says it's just about safety, pay attention, because it's often about something else, something much bigger. And we'll keep watching this, and we'll keep asking the questions they want. Until next time, stay sharp, stay aware, and don't let the silence fool you. What's quiet today could be law tomorrow. See you next time. Bye bye.